Hello everyone and welcome back to another Fam 2 Cents cooking video, and today we are doing collard greens again, but this time we're going to be doing them in the Ninja Foodi. So what I decided to do is I joined a couple groups on Facebook and stuff, and I've been looking around to find some communities where people, you know, share cooking videos and stuff like that. But I also wanted to specify and find some places where people are using the Ninja Foodi to both define and share recipes and everything. I shared a picture of my collard greens that I made over there, and everybody liked it. And I've made it in my my foodie before, but I've never actually recorded it because I assumed, like, okay, well, the video's already done on my channel. I could just tell people that it could be done the same way. But people like an actual physical representation, so this is me with essentially the same recipe, but doing it in the Ninja Foodi instead. Process is pretty much exactly the same. I think the only added ingredient this time is I actually had cayenne in my house this time. I don't think I had cayenne in the last video. I could be wrong. I haven't watched that video in a little bit. But everything is essentially the same. Right now I'm chopping up the onions. As you can see, if you were paying attention to the video before, I was cutting up the bacon, but I was cutting it up in the package. I know that's a little weird. A lot of people look at that like, is he chopping up the bacon in the package? Believe me, when you put bacon on a cutting board and take it out of the pack and try to dice it like that, it gets all weird sometimes. Sometimes cutting it, they move all over the place. If you've had it out of the fridge for a little bit, it's a little hard to deal with, and sometimes, you know, it moves around on the cutting board. It's a lot easier to just cut it in the package and then strip the plastic off, throw it in there. It's or at least for me, that's what I've been doing. So you're gonna dice up your onions. You don't have to cut them like too fine or anything. Obviously, I like my onions to have a little bit of a presence in my collard greens or whatever. And I've already cut up the bacon, and we're gonna go ahead and toss it into the foodi and fry that up until it gets pretty close to being done. Not completely done, but you want it fairly close, because you're gonna toss the onions in with the bacon afterwards, and those are gonna cook together until they're done, and then that's when you start to add the broth and everything too. Also, I'd like to mention that it is a very typical thing for me to do on this channel to use bouillon instead of actual broth, like buying boxed broth or canned broth or any other form of broth that you can buy that's already made. I prefer bouillon because you can make it on demand. It doesn't have to just sit around your house when you're not using it. You know, you can make as much or as little as you need and not have to worry about not having too much. You know, if you buy 2 cartons of broth and that's not enough, then you just don't have enough. Like, you're kind of screwed. So I like having bouillon because it gives you that opportunity to make as much as you need and use it whenever you want to. So that's what I ended up using in this video for the broth. So you guys will see that when we get to that portion. But as you can see now, I'm tossing the chopped up bacon into the foodi, and that's just gonna fry right in there. What I really like about the foodi is the fact that you can do everything with it. Like, I have it on sear and simmer right now, and it's gonna sear up this bacon and cook it really good. And then I can toss the onions right in there, and then once you have all the ingredients in, you put the lid on, you can pressure cook them and all that good stuff. This thing is awesome. It does everything. You can do it all in the one machine, the one pot, and that makes things significantly easier. So after the bacon is cooked down and it's almost done, as you can see here, I've tossed the onions in here. Now, usually, or normally, what I should have done right here is I should have tossed all the seasonings in at this point. But I ended up doing it afterwards, after I added the broth, which is a little backwards to do it, but it kind of doesn't matter. Honestly, it really doesn't. So this is where you would season. The seasoning that I'm using is paprika, I have garlic powder, I have cayenne, seasoned salt, and salt and pepper. And that's it. Nothing too crazy. You don't need to go too fancy or anything. Very straightforward. And right, as I said, right here is normally where you would season it. I did it afterwards. It's fine. It's not a big deal. So once your bacon and your onions have sauteed and they've cooked to the point to where the onions are pretty much a little transparent and the bacon is nice and crispy, you want to go ahead and toss your water or broth. Water if you're using bouillon cubes, broth if you're not. and you're going to need about 6 to 8 cups depending on how much broth you actually like in your collard greens. Leave that up to you, however you decide to do it, and you know, season it if you haven't done it already, and then you're ready to toss the greens in. Now, to be perfectly honest, the measurement for the seasonings are not really super precise, or at least I don't do it. I kind of do it by eye and taste. But if you really want a set of measurements, you can't go wrong with about a tablespoon of each one. Unless you don't like it very spicy, then maybe a teaspoon of cayenne, or you can just omit the cayenne completely. But about a tablespoon of everything that you've seen here is what you're gonna go for. So seasoned salt, pepper, cayenne, paprika, and the garlic powder. And then you turn on your pressure cooker, you let it go, and then once that's done and you've allowed all of the steam to release, after you've pressure cooked it for at least 20 minutes, you go ahead and you pop that lid off, and there you go. Now, to be honest, this is the better way to cook them versus on the stove, because they cook significantly faster when you pressure cook them. As you can see here, I'm giving it a taste, making sure that everything is up to snuff, and it pretty much is. I think I added just a little bit more seasoned salt after that initial taste, just to make sure that everything was good. And there you go, man, that's done. I got some cornbread in the oven that I made with this, and you'll see it in the money shot at the end. And it's just a really good combination, man. Collard greens, cornbread, you can't really go wrong with that. And this recipe is very simple. It's not complicated or difficult at all. So there you go. There's the video, guys. I know I didn't quite have the foodie one out, and I'm going to actually probably do foodie versions of a lot of the different recipes that I've done on the channel, if possible, because why not? We'll make a separate playlist for foodie exclusive things, so that way there'll be a separation there. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully this was helpful, and I'll see you guys on the next cooking video.